Happy Thursday. Let me just get situated here and make sure I am on track. Hey guys. Mary here from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and welcome to my weekly live chat. So I had a little bit of a change of plans. I'll let you guys get situated and get comfy here while I adapt to a different surrounding for my current video. So I had total plans to go live outside. I got my water tumbler ready to go, full of ice water, and I went to go live in front of the brick wall that I normally go live in because I've got some covering there. Hey David, hey Christine. So I've got some covering outside. I went live a couple weeks ago there, and there's a hornet's nest right out there. I think it's a red type of hornet. They're all over the garden, but I didn't really realize that there was a nest right there. So I didn't really want to deal with that right now. So here I am adapting to a little bit of a struggle, which is totally fine. And I was actually going to mention that later on in my video. So we'll just go with it. Hey Beverly, thank you for joining me. So for those of you that are new, welcome. For those of you that are my regulars, welcome back. I am Mary from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and I try to go live here every Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Time. Hey, Beverly. So I generally have a specific topic that I want to discuss, and a lot of times actually, Christine says, I love that metal art in the background. Oh, thank you. So this is the front entrance of my house, actually. I'm inside before I get into my living room and whatnot. So I was like, quick, I have 5 minutes. Where do I do? Where do I have light? So here I am. So every week I try to have a specific topic. And tonight's topic is a question that a customer asked me, and that was, how do you choose what to grow? What do you choose what to grow, and why do you choose what to grow is kind of what I wanted to expand on with that. So before I get into that topic of the evening, I wanted to share a couple tips, tricks, and a couple of new things that are available at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and hit the thumbs up on my video. I really appreciate it, and it helps us all. So in the description section of this video, you will find links to my comprehensive planting guide, what to grow, when to grow, and why to grow, and how to grow is all available in the new updated comprehensive planting guide. Same link, but more information. There's also a discount code. It's fall around the corner. It's not fall right now because it's about 109 degrees. It's a little on the cooler side than last week. So we're talking about why we choose or what we choose to plant and why we choose it. But part of that is going to be your area and fall versus summertime versus spring. So in that comprehensive planting guide, you'll find a lot of information about what to plant and when. You'll also find a fall discount code. So this is super important. David says, sometimes I grow stuff I love and to feed me or family, and some things I pick to grow that I've never tried or want to learn something new. Absolutely, me too. And I'm definitely gonna get into that in this video. So there's a fall discount code. Now, get ready for it. It is Prep for Fall, FO, not the number 4, all caps. You're going to use that at checkout to save 10% on fall seeds in our fall seed collection. If you don't remember that, totally fine. It's in the description section of this video. All this information that I will discuss tonight is there available for you to go back. If you're watching the replay, this discount code ends tomorrow, which is 7/28/23 at midnight. So you want to get in on the action right away. If you're planning for fall, again, the discount code is Prep for Fall, which is perfect. Hey John, thanks for joining us. So Prep for Fall is a discount code. It'll save 10% off everything in our fall seed collection. Link is down below. And again, that expires tomorrow night at midnight. So now, the actual question I was asked was, what varieties do you choose to plant in your garden? So I like to do my videos on questions that have been asked by customers that I feel are really important for everyone to know. And if you're just joining me, thank you very much. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe. We're indoors today because we had some hornets outside that were just not going to let me do it in my spot that I chose. So this was a post from Instagram, and she commented on a post I made about all of the San Marzano tomatoes that I had collected, harvested from my garden, and I was going to process them and store them different ways. We use a dehydrator, we herb roast them and freeze them. You can can them. So there's a lot of different ways that you can store your bounty from the garden. But her question was, what varieties do you choose to plant in your garden? Now, there really is no short answer to that because the list is pretty much too long for me to remember, which is why I write it down. Off the top of my head, I have a set of varieties that are my favorite things that I know that grow really well in my area or know that I love to grow, and that's at the top of my list. But from there, how do I choose which varieties to grow? And there's no short answer, but I will try to answer that with a little more detail. Since I'm constantly adding to my garden, my list is continuing to grow. My garden is ever expanding. But I also wanted to touch on a little bit about expanding your gardens, and we struggle sometimes. So some people look at my garden or my social media posts or my videos and they're like, well, you make it look so easy, but it's really not. And I totally get that because growing a garden from seed is not easy, but it's worth it. Growing from scratch, starting a garden from scratch, I have done it several times and it's not easy and we struggle, but that's okay. I just wanted to share that with you, that it's okay to struggle in your garden. It's okay to not have a Pinterest-worthy garden, because the bottom line is the ultimate goal in growing your own food is to have clean, healthy food that is nutrient dense, and you know how it was grown and you know how it was harvested and you know what went into that heirloom tomato, for example, that you're eating. It's not necessarily going to be cheaper than buying food from the store. And I kind of had that conversation recently with, like, there's a meme that floats around and it's like, oh, you spent $100 to spend, can I see you in a jacket? I don't have a jacket, sorry. There was a question about, it's fine. There was a question about the value of the garden and what you place on that garden. Well, yeah, I mean, the heirloom tomatoes, hey Matt, thanks for joining us. The heirloom tomatoes that I grow in my garden there's no comparison to the store-bought tomatoes, for example. So what I choose to grow in my garden, I'll get back to that. We don't consume a lot of okra here, but I do grow a lot of okra to save those seeds. But heirloom tomatoes, that makes up a big chunk of my garden because I love heirloom tomatoes. And you can see lots of pictures on my Facebook page. I don't edit my photos a lot. Like, if I got an ugly tomato in the front, it's gonna be an ugly tomato in the front. Sorry, I totally lost my paper here and I need to get a drink of water. Sorry. Hi. Sometimes we have bloopers. What's up? Fried okra. Yum, fried okra. Alan says fried okra. I didn't grow up eating fried okra, so that's a new one for me. Anyway, we're gonna stay on topic here today, Melissa. We're not gonna talk about jackets, we're gonna talk about heirloom seeds. So I want to dig a little deeper and ask you watching here, what do you choose and why do you choose and how do you choose? Because there's so many options available to you. We've got over 800 varieties of heirloom seeds at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. So how? So every year I choose something new. I take my favorite things that I like to grow and then I add to them. So I would like to know what you personally, how you choose. First and foremost for me, heirloom seeds are number one. It's not optional. Everything we grow from in our garden is from seed, and it's from heirloom seeds. So that gives me so many options. I mean, seriously, white okra, red okra, green okra, tomatoes, yellow tomatoes, green tomatoes, purple tomatoes, white tomatoes. There are so many different options available to you from in the heirloom seed world. So what do you look for in a plant? So when I start with my heirloom seeds, and then I go out from there. So I want to grow what I like to eat. Okay, I already mentioned I love heirloom tomatoes. We like eggplant. We love squash. I love squash. Like, I grow so many varieties of squash, it's insane, in my food garden. And then we have seed gardens in different places as well. So that way we don't have cross contamination. We don't have cross pollination. So you get pure, true seeds. For my food gardens, I choose crops that we eat. So just an example, if you don't eat beans, maybe don't plant beans. If you don't eat squash, maybe try something different. If you don't like okra, it's totally okay. You don't have to eat okra. Look for something specific that you like to eat. And then the next is, I like to choose varieties that are heat tolerant. Hello, East Texas. It's hot here. Let me just double check here. I'm watching comments and everything else. Hi guys. Tell me what you like to eat. Tell me what you like to grow. I would love to hear your feedback again on tonight's topic of what you like to grow and how do you choose what to plant. So there's another thing that is specific, is going to be what type of garden are you growing in, and that might determine what you plant. So maybe you're growing a container garden. So there are specific varieties that do better in containers. And I actually had that question today. The question was, hey, I want to start a container garden, and what varieties do I choose? How do I grow? I've got, 10-inch buckets or 12-inch buckets, and what specifically would grow in those types of containers. Maybe you have a shorter growing season. So maybe that's why you choose to grow a specific variety. So I did want to touch on that. I do like varieties that are heat tolerant, like I mentioned, and I do like varieties that are drought tolerant, because in my previous garden, it was no rain. We have a lot of rain this year, but last year, or in our previous place, which was in 2020, we were in full-on drought, and there wasn't a lot of rain. Here, we get so much rain. So again, with the starting over, we are learning and adapting to the different varieties that are available to us here that we can grow a little better than in our previous spot, sorry. David says, I got a great variety of banana peppers this year. They are already 10 inches long and going to be great for stuffing. Awesome. That's great, David. So the other thing is, what if you have a short growing season? So that was another question from someone. We're on the topic of how do you choose what to grow? So specifically, there is a Q tomato. I call it a Q tomato. It has a very long name, and I'm not going to get into it because I can't pronounce it, to be totally honest. So that one is ready to harvest in 40 days from transplant, versus some of the other varieties that are like 80 days after transplant. So if you've got a shorter growing season, that might be the best one for you. Maybe you have another one that you like to grow, but that's a really good one. Manitoba tomato, for example, is one that is more cool tolerant, so it will continue to produce. Matt says potatoes, beans, specifically you said green beans and dragon tongue beans. I love dragon tongue beans. Tomatoes and peppers, awesome. I love heirloom tomatoes. There's nothing like it. So speaking of which, next on my list here, every year I have my must grows. And I don't even need to look at my notes to tell you exactly which ones those are, because I love them to death. So the must grows on my list are Cherokee purple tomato, of course, San Marzano tomato, hands down the best for sauce. Green zebra tomato, it's just tangy, I love it. Yellow pear tomato, the most abundant crop and super sweet. I call it garden candy because I eat a lot of it out in the garden. Then we have speckled Roman tomato, and I know I'm missing one, so maybe it's on my list here. Oh, Amanda's orange. Yes, so that's another one. So those are, I would have to say off the top of my head, the must grows. And then there's new ones every year that I try or that we do for seed saving, and I'm always looking at something new. So the Japanese black trifle was a fantastic producer this year. It's much sweeter than some of the other darker tomatoes that I've grown. The Azoichka tomato, which is a yellow tomato, I believe from Russia, that was a really, really good one. And just the flavor profile of that, it was not super acidic. It was sweet, but not super sweet and not super acidic. So I highly recommend that one as well. So again, every year is going to be different of the extras that I choose to grow. But that one specifically that I've got my, like, I must grow. Like if I had to pick one, my orange cats are talking to me right now. So if I had to pick one bean to grow, oh my goodness, I would really struggle with that. But I would have to say that jade bush beans are my top favorite because they are more heat tolerant. I did a side-by-side grow in a bed, same exact bed, same exact nutrients, same exact water, and well, within reason because I'm human and you know I do my stuff. The Blue Lake bush beans did not perform as well as the jade bush beans in the heat. So again, I tend to grow things that grow well in my area specifically. Russian, we don't do that here, so you can go watch somebody else's channel. So if you're struggling in the garden, there's a couple of different things that you can try. So it is 108 degrees right now with the heat index. So I'm definitely looking at my garden and seeing the things that will grow better in my area in the heat. Now, we are on to fall. I would really prefer if you're watching this video that we stay positive and we stay on topic. I always like to stay on topic at least. If you've got a garden or seed related question, I'm happy to help. So if you're struggling in your garden and it's summertime and it's hot where you are, there are so many things that are available to you for fall. So that was why I mentioned in the beginning of the video, we're prepping for fall. You've got beets, you've got Brussels sprouts, you've got cabbage, you've got green beans. Green beans are about 60 to 70 days from seed until you're ready to start harvesting. So it's a fantastic crop if you want a fall option. The bonus points are it's a little cooler in the garden generally in fall. There are turnips, rutabagas, cauliflower, broccoli. I mean, I'm just kind of winging it here because I'm literally done with my notes pretty much. So David said it must be all the heat today. Yeah. I definitely prefer to expend my energy out in the garden than dealing with negativity. So we're gonna keep things positive tonight, and I really appreciate it. So I was talking about the different growing regions and growing spaces, and I did mention container gardens. And another thing is, I mentioned the shorter varieties, but I forgot to mention space. So I'll add a little bit more about space, and then I'll get back to my closing out my video. Growing in small spaces. Again, in the description section of this video, you will find a link to my comprehensive planting guide. There is information about growing in containers. There's information about growing in small spaces. Chicken Lip says, how do you grow the best marijuana in Oklahoma? We don't, and I don't know, so you'll have to ask a channel that actually deals with something like that. We are dealing with heirloom seeds in vegetable gardens, so we're going to keep things as on topic as possible, as I mentioned. So if you're growing in a small space, I'll give you an example. I would not necessarily expend my energy on growing corn in a small space when I can grow something that is going to provide more for that small area. So if I had a small space, I would want to grow something. I know Christine, good golly, is right. But here I am. I'm going with it. We're rolling with it. So it's fine. It's Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. Everybody's excited about the weekend, and the heat might just be getting to a couple people. So if I'm growing in a small space, I want to grow something that has the best bang for my buck. So I'm going to grow peppers. I'm going to grow eggplant. I'm going to grow a bush squash. Because, for example, a bush squash is going to give you generally a faster, more productive plant than, say, a vining crop that takes a lot more space and might take a lot longer to grow. Some fantastic heat-tolerant ones are going to be Tatume squash. It's a great bush squash. And the Benning's green tint scallop squash. I know I've mentioned it before, but it's in I've got 2 Texas seed combo packs. They are fantastic for hot areas, not just for Texas. So honestly, if you live in an area where it gets hot, I would definitely check out my 2 Texas seed combo packs because they're fantastic. And we've got a discount code for that as well on my website. So I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. And I did mention the timing of things. If you've got a shorter growing season, I suggested the Q tomato. But again, with the bush squash, is if you have a shorter growing season, you might enjoy something like the Benning's green tint or something like that. Hey Doc, versus spaghetti squash, which takes 90 to 110 days to grow. All right, so you've got Ron LaRue says, like you, I have must have plants. Would love to try new varieties and new types of plants. This year I did some companion flowers. My main garden is out in the pasture, but I have an herb garden. Awesome, Ron. So Ron, what I was also mentioning earlier was growing in small spaces and getting the most bang for your buck. Herb gardens are a fantastic option if you have a container garden or you're looking to grow in small spaces, because herbs don't always take up a lot of space. So basil is a really good one. Let's see, tarragon, oregano, parsley. I'm not a huge fan of parsley. I grow it, but it's not that big of a deal. Hey Doc. So we do use a lot of herbs on our homestead. Rosemary, if you're looking for a perennial, is fantastic. If you live in an area that gets a hard freeze, you will need to double check on how to maybe bring them inside, maybe keep them covered so that they don't die in a hard freeze. But if you have a longer growing season and a more moderate winter, you can definitely grow something like rosemary for years. I had a friend in South Florida. She had rosemary that was 5 feet tall and probably 4 feet wide. So you can definitely get a great rosemary harvest from for a plant that's that big. All right, everybody. So I hope you've enjoyed part of my video on deciding what to grow. And of course, we talked about when to grow. Check out the description section of this video. You'll find information on our fall planning and planting. Alicia says, hi Mary, thank you for all the wonderful garden inspiration and how-tos. I really appreciate that as well. I always enjoy your feedback. You can always send me an email to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. And I will answer your questions if they are garden or seed related. I really appreciate it, again, if you keep it on topic. If you're struggling with your garden, now you get a chance to grow lots of great, amazing things, and you can check out the comprehensive planting guide for what to plant and when. Last one is Prep for Fall is the seed discount code for the week. Thank you everyone for joining me, and I hope you check out the great information. And if you've got questions, send me an email to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. I am Mary signing off, and have a wonderful weekend and happy planting.